Good evening, and welcome to the January 20th, or January 15th, 2020 meeting of the Prescott Valley Arts and Culture Association. May we have the roll call, please?
All right. Vice Chair Nancy Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Andy Sinclair.
Here.
Commissioner Edward Lira.
Present.
Commissioner Zachary Moss.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we need to approve our agenda. Mr. Whitty?
Yes, ma'am. Staff would request a change to tonight's agenda before approval, and that would be moving item 8A, our department master plan update, to item 5D for the benefit of our guest speaker this evening.
May I have a motion to that effect?
I make a motion that we move item 8A up to 5D.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It has been moved, seconded, and approved that we move item 8A to item 5D on our agenda. Thank you. I need a motion to approve minutes of November meetings.
I make a motion that we approve the November 13th, 2019 work study meeting minutes, as well as the November 20th, 2019 regular meeting minutes. Make a motion that we approve them as written.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes stand approved as presented. Announcements and presentations.
Would like to take this moment to introduce one of our newest commissioners who was just appointed this past Thursday, and that would be Mr. Zachary Moss. And very, very happy to have you here with us this evening. Zach is filling a unique role on our Arts and Culture Commission, and that is we have two positions that are non-voting unless quorum requirements dictate to that. And Zach is our first commissioner filling that new role with us. So we welcome him, and with that, I would turn the floor over to you, Zach, if you'd like to introduce yourself, a little background, and your interest and desires of participating with us this year.
Of course. My name is Zach Moss. Nice to see everybody. Lived in PV for about 2.5 years, and I'd like to be a part of the future. That's pretty much it.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. I know this has been a little bit of a lengthy process for you.
It was a very, very long process.
It was, yes, it was in doing that. So applaud you, appreciate your contributions that you'll be bringing forth, as well as your support that you've already given us to date. So thank you very much for that, sir.
We're glad to have you with us, Zach.
Welcome to the commission.
Next, I'd like to introduce our new Arts and Culture Coordinator. This is Isabella Chewing, and she will take us through our Create a Tree People's Choice winner. Isabella?
Is the slideshow up? Is the slideshow up?
And if I can invite Vice Chairperson Smith down with me as well to present this award. So annually we host our Create a Tree program here in the library. This year we had 34 beautiful trees provided by local businesses, local artisans, families, things like that. And we host a People's Choice Award every year. And this year our People's Choice Award went to a new participant, someone who hadn't participated in the past, and we're so grateful that she did decide to participate this year. Miss Christine Lane and the McCormick family provided a absolutely gorgeous tree, all handmade, hand decorated, the Darvius Black Castle tree, which is a story that she actually created herself. So we'd love to invite her up with us.
Congratulations from all the people of Prescott Valley and for all those who voted for you. It's your certificate and lovely bouquet of roses. It was a beautiful, beautiful tree. There were so many comments, even on ballots, people. So it was certainly a labor of love. If you'd like to tell us a little more about it, feel free.
Well, I couldn't have done it without the help and encouragement of my family. And it was based on a story that I wrote some time back, and it was always a dream to possibly get it in print. But when this happened, I thought, oh, I could make my tree. So I took me a month and many hours. But thank you so much. I do
The love
appreciate
showed
it.
in it. It
Thank
was
you.
just
Thank you.
And for those of us that may not have been able to see this lovely tree in the People's Choice Award, we do have it up on your screens, and you can definitely see the detail and dedication and time that was wrapped up into this presentation. And first timer, well, you all knocked it right out of the ballpark, so excellent job. Thank you.
all right. Moving on. Our programs, classes, special events.
Yes, just a host of quick items here. We've got a couple of programs and services available to us. First off is our Magic of Microgreens. This is a new class starting this month. Learn how to plant, grow, harvest, and create meals with microgreens. With all of these programs, events, and activities and services, please feel free to give us a call at our office. That is 759-3090. And you are also able to gather more information, and if you strongly desire to enroll in any of these programs and services, you can do so from the comfort of your home. And we are found at pvaz.net. Then there's a nice little button down there that says Parks and Recreation, and then you'll be able to see an entire menu of all those different activities and services available to you. And we'd be very, very appreciative of that participation and engagement. And if sponsorships are sought by those businesses and activities, we would be happy to entertain those conversations with you all and finding those ways and methods to engage with your community here in Prescott Valley. In addition to microgreens, we have adult dance and exercise classes. These are Vitality Ballet for seniors and Latin Ballroom Fusion for adults. These are drop-in $5 classes. So visit with us right here at the Civic Center for all the fun and energy that we have going on with these adult dance exercise classes. In conjunction with that, we also have seated volleyball. You might ask yourself, not sure how to play? That's perfectly fine. We have a free demo class that's available to you. These fitness classes are, again, starting in January. And again, more information, give us a call, 759-3090, or visit us on the web. Next is our Fight for Fitness. This is a new kickboxing and Taekwondo themed fitness class. These are designed for all fitness abilities and ages. And last but not least on our list of programs and services, Daddy-Daughter Date Night. This is a beautiful evening available for dads and their daughters to come out, enjoy a night of entertainment and activities, lots of prizes, dancing, entertainment. It is a ton of fun. I had the distinct pleasure of being able to do this for a number of years with my daughter. Couples are $40, $20 for each additional daughter. Registration opened at the first of this month and is limited to a first-come, first-served basis, as there is limited seating available. Again, you can register online, or you can give us a call at 759-3090. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions in regards to these upcoming classes and services.
Questions, feel free to move on. Our master plan update.
Yes, ma'am. Tonight with us is Mr. Mike Svets from Pros Consulting. He is here to review with us levels of service and inventory within the town of Prescott Valley and review those matters with you.
Bear with me as I get myself set up here very quickly. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present some more technical information to you regarding parks and the future of parks in Prescott Valley. So bear with me. Feel free to ask questions along the way if you have them. But just kind of very quickly, these are the items that we are going to discuss this evening. One thing to note is we will revisit the prioritized needs, which we showed you all back in November in terms of what the community wants out of parks and recreation and art and culture. But then we'll move into maybe a better definition of park classifications. Understand that master plan communities have a great impact with regards to park and recreation amenities in your community, more so than many other communities, whether it be in Arizona or across the country. Speak to you about levels of service, which is really about how much do you have and how much do you need in the future based on the growth of your community, the expected growth of your community. And then show you kind of what that level of service looks like from an equity mapping perspective, meaning if you're going to build more parks and opportunities for more programming, where would those be? And then briefly discuss next steps. So community needs, I will not read all of this to you again, but from a recreation program and services perspective, we kind of broke them out into high, medium, and low. High really means that the community has a great need and places a lot of importance on it. But it also means that there's unmet need, a great unmet need. So what we're saying is though you may do some of these things already, they want more of them. And then kind of as you go down to the medium and the low priorities, those are possibly opportunities to introduce new programming at a very strategic level. In other words, it's not going to be something you offer 12 months a year. And from a low priority, it doesn't mean that you stop doing it, it means that if there are things on this list that basically you're already doing it at a level in which the community expects you to do it at. So you're not going to do more of it. If there are things on this list that you aren't doing right now, that would simply mean that you're not going to expend resources looking to introduce programs that the community doesn't have a desire for. And then we align park and facility and amenity prioritized needs simply because anytime you do a program or an activity, you have to have a location. And having a best practice location is important to understanding the quality of the end product that you're providing. And then art and culture, we didn't ask, obviously, not nearly as many choices, but you can see that the high priorities in many cases very much align with some of the high priorities that were provided at a general recreation perspective. So as you're looking forward to introducing new art and culture programs and services, this would be a good starting point. My expectation is that if you're, for example, your community loves community festivals and events. You have a great space for it. That would be a great starting point to expand upon that service. But if you're not doing open mic nights right now, whether they be for comedy or music or poetry, your community doesn't have a high desire for that, so it would not behoove you to spend a lot of time and energy and resources introducing that kind of program. So moving on to what we'll call more technical information really about your parks system. So less about programming. I know art and culture is very much about programs and services, but since you're tied to Parks and Recreation, we felt it important to obviously keep you informed with regards to where the Parks and Recreation Department as a whole is going. So one of the things that we wanted to speak to you about is parks are not, a park is not a park is not a park. They come in different shapes and sizes, and they're really tied to the different types of experiences that you provide to your community. So mini parks are really small open spaces. They're usually not much larger than a large residential lot. And they typically have maybe a pathway through it, maybe a gazebo, maybe a small playground. But they're small gathering spaces and really intended for small groups of people to use at any one point. Neighborhood parks and the next one, community parks, are kind of the backbone of most park and recreation systems. This is where you start introducing larger playgrounds, maybe a picnic shelter, open space, walking trails, but you still typically don't have a lot of parking, and you don't typically have restrooms. The length of experience associated with a typical neighborhood park is usually somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour. And from a size perspective, they're kind of that in between. Mountain Valley Park is a community park, and then you have some smaller, pocket parks. A good example of a neighborhood park in your community is the one that just opened, Santa Fe. That's a really good example of a neighborhood park. Community parks are much larger in size. They're intended to have much larger amenities such as athletic fields and lighting and restrooms and parking. This is where you get people to be there for a couple, 3 hours, maybe up to a half a day. And as I said, Mountain Valley Park is a good example of this. A special use park you have right next door. An example of that is Civic Center Park. And so it's really intended for event space, gatherings, and it's not going to, it's not going to carry playgrounds. It's not going to have picnic shelters. It's not going to have all of those traditional things that you see at a Mountain Valley Park or a Santa Fe Park. So it kind of stands on its own, and we just kind of labeled that as a special use park. And then open space conservation lands. Fane Park here in Prescott Valley falls into this category. It's exactly what the title says. It is meant to preserve open space. It's meant to have conserve land so that it's not going to be developed on in any way, shape, or form. And usually these spaces can be 5 acres, usually wetlands, up to, in Fane Park's case, is a good size open space conservation land. That currently is 100 acres. But really it's not intended for a lot of quote-unquote human consumption. It's there, has a light trail system to it, small trailhead maybe, but not much else. And so it's really intended for conservation and preservation. So levels of service are really about how much park acreage do you have, and then how much park acreage do you need in the future as your community grows. And so one of the things that is important to understand is there's not an algorithm to this because every community is different and opportunities in communities are different. So we really try to make sure that this is customized to any community that we're working in. I will not read you this long list, but there are a number of variables that go into determining a recommended level of service. Probably the one that I almost deem most important, or the two that I deem most important, is what does your community want to do in parks? The prioritization of community need down at the bottom, and then financial sustainability. Can you create a park and recreation system in the future that you can financially sustain? Because if you can't, then there's no point in building it. Just as a quick reminder, your current population is around 50,000 folks, and about 40% of that population is made up of master plan communities. We are looking to move forward. In about 15 years, you're almost doubling in size to 95,000 folks. That entire amount of growth is expected to be master plan communities that are very much, as we will say it, amenitized with park and recreation amenities and experiences. It will not, all of the master plan communities will not be able to meet the needs of the entire 95,000, but what we are going to very much try to do is understand what role the master plan communities play in meeting community need, and then what role the town needs to play for the community as a whole and the other 30,000 people in the community that don't belong to a master plan community and then therefore don't have access to the amenities or many of the amenities that those master plan communities have. So one of the things that we're taking into consideration is what at this point in time, what is your master plan community impact in terms of population? So what I mentioned earlier on is that about 39%, 40% of your population right now is made up of master plan communities. That percentage will increase as well as the number of people increase over the next 15 years. So the assumption, again, that we're making is that if right now, and looking at 50,000 people, that 20,000 of those people currently live in a master plan community, and 30,000 people do not. In 15 years, if we're making the assumption that all of the growth will take place in master plan communities, that means 30,000 of your 95,000 people will not live in master plan communities, and 65,000 of the 95,000 will. So that instead of being 40% of your population living in master plan communities, it's going to be closer to 60% of your population that will be living in master plan communities in 15 years. And that's really important to understand, because if we don't take that into consideration and we don't take the amenities that are going to be available to those residents into consideration, what we in turn will end up doing is we in turn will end up saying that you need more than you actually will need. And then you will overbuild your park and recreation system, which then translates to not being able to financially sustain it. So in a nutshell, that is the impact that we're really trying to wrap our brain around when we start talking about the impact of master plan communities in Prescott Valley. So what we try to do is, first things first, is try to understand what kind of acreage you have and the master plan communities have in each of the park classifications that I showed you. So what we've totaled up is that in your community right now, you have approximately 200 acres of parkland, not counting Fane, which we, yes, it's a park, but we're not factoring it into what we'll call level of service, simply because the level of service is based on how much you need per population. Open space conservation lands are really about opportunity, and it's not that you're going to go out and seek open space and conserve land that necessarily should not be. So it's really about looking at it through the lens of opportunity. So when we look and go forward, and this is trying to be consistent also with the 2025 general plan, the community, the town, is trying to get away from mini parks. And the reason being is that they don't provide much in terms of park and recreation experience in them. They're not much more than half an acre to an acre in size. Can't really do a whole lot with them. And so the recommendation going forward, even though you have 0.3 acres for every 1,000 people now, the recommendation is that you don't build anymore. And so we're basically stating that in 2034, you will not need any more acreage in mini parks than you have today. The neighborhood parks and community parks, which are the backbone of your system, and the alignment with the general plan states that you want 3.4 acres of neighborhood parks and 3.4 acres of community parks. This would translate to needing close to 260 acres of neighborhood parks and 212 acres of community parks to meet that standard based on your population growing from 50,000 to 95,000 people. To kind of put this in perspective, one of the things that we have to consider is, should we have 3.4 acres for per thousand for neighborhood parks and 3.4 acres for community parks, or should we adjust that in such a way that says, are you really, so for example, I'll just kind of put this into terms. Santa Fe Park is about 14 acres in size. If we do the math, that would mean that you would need about 19 more Santa Fe parks. And I don't know that that is feasibly possible. But we also know that you have Agua Fria Park, which is, or potentially Agua Fria Park, which is potentially 300 acres, or at least the piece of land is 300 acres in size. You can divide that up into several community parks. So we're going to take a look at readjusting how many acres per thousand you need for neighborhood parks and how many acres you need for community parks, with the end game of trying to be in alignment with the general plan, which is a total of 6.8 acres per thousand of parkland of developed parkland in your community. Special use parks, we think you're okay right now, so that will kind of fall into the same category as mini parks, and not recommending any more in the future. So another way to show this instead of numbers in a spreadsheet is, if you're going to build additional parks, where would you build them? And this is all about mapping and equity and understanding where you have parks now and where you'll need parks in the future. So you can see from a mini park perspective, you pretty much have a lot of mini parks in your population, in your populated areas. The little like boxes that have a brown outline to them are all of your current master plan communities. And so as we go forward with some of these maps, you'll start to see that really when we start talking about some of the mini parks and neighborhood parks, many of those are only available to your HOA residents. But you can see if we were to develop mini parks in the future where you would put them. But we will likely do away with this map in terms of showing it simply because we're not going to recommend you doing any more mini parks. So the focus then is on neighborhood parks and then community parks. And as you can see, you have quite a few neighborhood parks, but as your community develops, you will need to look at where you're going to put those neighborhood parks, or where the master plan communities will want to contribute neighborhood parks. From a community park perspective, you actually have really good coverage in the middle of your community. But as your community increases in size, these circles will actually get smaller. And you will end up being more dense, which means you're going to end up needing more potential park acreage to meet those needs. And then special use parks, you're actually pretty well covered with the two. Of course, the Civic Center one is in the middle. So again, this is just kind of a visual representation to give you an understanding of primarily where your growth is going to be is where you're going to look to put parks. And that is primarily going to be to the north, maybe a little bit to the south, and definitely to the west where the Jasper master plan community is going to be. So our next steps on the operations side of the equation, we're going to finalize a program assessment and park maintenance assessment to make sure that those are in line with what the community wants and what you can afford. Also then to kind of complete a capital improvement plan, which basically is no park system lasts forever in its current state, regardless of the type of high-level maintenance that you put into it. So at some point, you're always going to have to replace playgrounds or picnic shelters, and you do a really good job of that now, but we just need to chart that out for the next 10 years. And then, of course, any recommendations that involve money will come with some funding strategies as well. So we will make a presentation tomorrow evening to Town Council on this information as well, get some more direction from them, and then continue to move forward. We will either be back in front of you in February or March. We'll look to make that determination over the next couple of days. Questions, concerns, comments, suggestions?
First of all, thank you for all your work. It's really all-encompassing. So,
we're trying.
Questions from anyone? Any thoughts? I think you've overwhelmed us.
Well, and we've tried to bring this to you in chunks because we tried to bring this to you all at the end. I think your heads will be spinning. So I think it'll all make sense as we start to connect the dots, trying to continue to connect the dots along the way, but bring the information to you in chunks. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike.
You're very welcome.
Did you have any thoughts? You're fine. Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Mike. You have some new business for us, Mr. Whitty?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to give you a few little updates related to my report and the department's report as a whole. This will be reflecting on the months of both November and December, since we were a little bit on holiday for the last 30 days doing that. I'm very happy to report that we were the benefactors of multiple pieces from an estate that the family donated to the town. Was found with acceptance by the Art at the Center committee. And these pieces, in total of 3, had a estimated value of $2,300. So these are three-dimensional pieces, paintings, sand sculpting, and I apologize, I do not recall the name of our artist on this project.
Suzanne Popko. Suzanne Popko.
Suzanne Popko is the artist. She's very renowned, especially through the Southwest, utilizing sand in the development of these particular pieces. So we're very excited to have those in our inventory. In doing that, staff has been working quite heavily in cooperation with our police department and other community partners in development of our Gold Fevers Day event and Badges with Bobbers. That'll be coming forward in April, so we'll have more details and information as that develops. As you also know, we worked very heavily in regards to a combination of services in that first week of December related to, as you heard tonight, our People's Choice Award winner through the Commission's Create a Tree program. We also had the lighting ceremony, and then we're also working with our community partner, the Chamber of Commerce, in regards to the Festival of Lights and the Light Parade that took place as well. So quite a few efforts there. Followed up those holiday treats with some additional ones on New Year's Eve. A nice cultural special event celebration taking place over in the parking lot of the Event Center with a bonfire and 2 fireworks shows made available. Also, again, working with the Chamber in support of their endeavors related to the renewal of the Battle of the Bands. We're actually invigorating that program, retitling it. It'll be listed out there as Rhythm and Brews. So it's going to have a host of varied genre performances throughout the afternoon, early evening. A variety of different brewers that will be out there, microbrewers, so some specialty items out there. Looking at also including some of our local vineyards participating there, and then a collection of food trucks as well. So it'll be quite a festive environment, have some activities and entertainment for the young people as well, attending that event with their parents. Working with Commissioners Smith and Sinclair in quite a bit of our endeavor on our Lakeshore Sculpture project. So that's gaining traction and coming down the road. Some more information and materials will be presented in work study as we get into the next month or two. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have on these written reports and the department reports as a whole.
Anyone, any questions for Brian? Thank you very much, Brian. Moving along to our new business. We have some updates you need to share with us.
We do. As we alluded in our last work study, we've had some complications in regards to our schedule, and we are looking for your flexibility and adjustment. So what we would be looking for is typically we have our work studies on the second Wednesdays of each month. What we are looking at here is an adjustment in that schedule that would take our work study from May 13th, and that is our focus, the month of May. That's where our 2 conflicts arise. Changing that meeting date from the 13th to the 20th, and then flipping that because we typically have our regular meetings on the 3rd Wednesday of each month, just basically flipping each one of those 2. So instead of our regular meeting on the 20th of May, we would meet on the 13th here in the auditorium. So those are the adjustments in the calendar, and we've been able to make those updates for you as well on your posted calendar within your packets. So if that's a feasible thing to do, it is the adjustment we're going to be needing to make.
Do you need an action on this?
I do. I would need those as listed as action items because then that becomes our official record. We'll update the calendars and then make the official postings for each one of those.
We have a motion to approve the updated work study and regular meetings for May of 2020.
Make a motion for it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to reverse our work study and our regular meeting for the month of May. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Thank you very much.
It passes.
Your town council is grateful for your flexibility.
Sure. Okay. Would you like to carry on with our committee updates, please?
I would. Matter of fact, I would like to turn the floor over to Miss Isabella, if that would be acceptable. Isabella has a couple of committee updates that she would like to present to you related to our Youth Arts Month and our Family Arts Festivals. So I will turn that over.
All right, so we have coming up our wonderful Youth Arts Month coming up for the month of March. It's a nationally recognized celebration of youth art, everywhere from performing arts to visual arts. And so a couple important dates to know about that. Our teachers in our schools need to be getting their applications in through HUSD to us in the next few weeks here, because the art installation at the Civic Center and the Public Library are going to be happening on February 25th, February 26th, and February 27th. So after February 27th, you'll see a wonderful display of youth art in both the Civic Building and the Public Library. We're going to be hosting the artists' reception for the awards that we give out on March 4th, Wednesday, March 4th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. We're going to have the HUSD Orchestra performing at the Civic Building, and there's going to be refreshments, so a great opportunity to come out and support our young people in their arts. Coming up here on Wednesday, March 4th. Okay. Perfect. And in conjunction this year with Youth Arts Month, our Youth Arts Month show will still be up for our Family Arts Festival, which is held on April 4th from 9 a.m. to noon. Our Family Arts Festival runs in conjunction with our Eggstravaganza, super fun activities for the entire family. So we have an egg hunt, part of the Eggstravaganza. We have vendor booths, we have food, activities, and we have wonderful arts activities and arts booths for the kids. We also have youth arts performances, everywhere from dance to orchestras, things like that. So that's going to be April 4th. Coming up here from 9 a.m. to noon. And again, it's here at the Civic Center. So it's actually a wonderful opportunity for nonprofits, schools, organizations, classes, clubs, things like that, to actually have a booth here at the event. Our Arts and Culture Commission will be present at the event, but we ask, the public to come and have a booth at the event and share with us your organization, what makes you special, what you offer to the community. It doesn't necessarily have to be arts-based. This is Family Arts Festival, but it's also just a celebration of family, culture, art, all of that good stuff. So if there is a school, class, organization, club, anything that would like to participate and have a presence at our Family Arts Festival, you can contact me directly. Again, my name's Isabella Chewning. I'm iChewning, ICHEWNING, at pvaz.net or at 928-759-3127. And you can just contact me directly if you're interested in knowing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. I do want to encourage our citizens to visit the Civic Center during the month of March and see the amazing art that the students throughout the Humboldt Unified School District produce. It's really a treat and makes you feel good about the future of our youth and what they're capable of doing. And then you can also see it at the Family Arts Festival will still be available on site then. The high school, I should note, has their art on display in the library. So the rest of it is in the Civic Center, but the library will hold the high school art, and there will be lots of fun things to do on April 4th. So plan on coming out. Mr. Whitty?
No, ma'am. I was just going to reflect not only that, but during our Youth Arts Month, during our reception, it's also an award time.
Oh, yes.
And each one of those young people are broken up into their age categories. So it's very, very exciting, especially when we see our pre-K and K students that are there, our first through third or fourth, I think it is, and there's a variety of different age brackets. But also to see the talents. I mean, don't let age fool you, because there are some phenomenal young people that I have seen in the past that have gone on to graphic arts degree programs and all of those types of things. But that inspiration at those younger ages, and when they have their nice big blue or red or white ribbon and those types of things, very, very exciting. And I think it also helps reinvigorate our art educators that we have out there, and especially when the Blue Ribbon awarded student out of that age category's teacher is awarded with classroom art supplies to continue forging that desire and passion and energy. That's a large part of what this program is about. And celebrating that so that they keep going down the road with that. And Isabella's done a great job growing this program. We're going to have the little orchestra ensemble performing. So having that going through 4 floors of the Civic Center here leading up to this reception and a recognition ceremony is pretty exciting stuff. And we'll have a couple of hundred folks here filling up the Civic Center, looking with excitement and wanting to see who are the winners and the teachers. So it's a great thing, and they're supported by their administration and faculty members as well. So great evening, so encourage everyone for that. And the simple fact this year that Easter's early, it gets to roll right into our Family Arts Festival. Very exciting time, again, highlighting educators, schools and programs, so it helps folks make choices, especially with younger members of their family looking at what schools they want to look at. And it's a fundraising opportunity for those too, for those folks engaging with us. So lots of fun, lots of entertainment, petting zoos, jumpies, egg hunts, Little Bo Peep, all kinds of crazy, fun, and exciting things going on throughout that entire morning. So we'll have about a couple thousand folks joining us on that particular day in April. So thank you for being able to share that.
Another note we want to make here is that for the last several years, due to budget cuts, there haven't been any art classes in the K through 8 range of students, of the schools. It's been after-school art programs that have been handled by volunteers. But this year, the art programs are back, as are the music programs. So it'll be exciting to see what they have been producing in regular classroom work instead of just something that happens once for 3 weeks at a time, and that's all a grade level gets through for the whole year. So
right
now it's every week in school, and we should be seeing some really interesting and exciting new stuff.
Definitely. And to that note, and Isabella, please correct me if I misheard, but as an example of that energy coming back into our educational system, Liberty, I believe, was the school. They have their orchestra, and they had a couple of dozen in the beginning years.
Yes.
Now they're 100.
Yeah, it's a combined orchestra. They'll be performing at our artists' reception. They have over 100 students, up from only 15 from last year. So it's growing immensely, and it's just fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is desire, there is passion, there is skill.
And now there's funds. It sure helps.
Very good. So with that,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Our next meeting will be held on February Our work study will be on Wednesday, February 12th at 5:30 p.m. in the conference room 428, and that's in the Civic Center. The following week, on Wednesday, February 19th, the Arts and Culture Commission will have their regular meeting right here in the auditorium in the library at 5:30 p.m. Public is always welcome to join us at these meetings, and we love to see you here. And if you are someone with a special artistic talent, let us know by calling 759-3090, speaking to Isabella, and we would be glad to have you demonstrate your art if it's appropriate for our meeting. There being no further business, I declare this meeting adjourned.